Imagine waking up tomorrow morning. You open your bedroom window. The sun is shining. The streets look normal. For a moment, everything seems exactly as it should. Then, the ground begins to shake. Car alarms suddenly start going off. Birds burst into the sky. People stop walking. You slowly look down the street. Standing between the buildings is a Tyrannosaurus rex, over 12 meters long, weighing more than 7 tons. Looking directly at you sounds like science fiction. But here's the strange part. This world almost existed, because 66 million years ago, one single event changed the entire future of life on Earth. An asteroid, roughly 12 kilometers wide, traveling faster than a rifle bullet, struck our planet with unimaginable force. Within hours, massive earthquakes shook the Earth. Towering tsunamis swept across entire coastlines. Wildfires spread for thousands of kilometers. The sky filled with ash and dust. Sunlight disappeared. Plants began to die. Then the animals that depended on those plants disappeared. Finally, even the largest predators could no longer survive. Nearly 75% of all species on Earth vanished, including every non-avian dinosaur. Most people know this story. The dinosaurs died. Mammals survived. Humans eventually evolved. Simple? But here's the question almost nobody asks. What if that asteroid had missed? Not exploded earlier. Not broken into pieces. Simply missed. Imagine looking up into the sky that day, watching the asteroid fly harmlessly past Earth, before disappearing into the darkness of space. No impact. No global fires. No years without sunlight. No mass extinction. The dinosaurs wake up the next morning, completely unaware that history almost changed forever. Life continues exactly as it had the day before. Tyrannosaurus rex still rules North America. Triceratops still roam enormous herds across open plains. Gigantic sauropods continue shaking the forests with every step. Pterosaurs still dominate the skies. The age of dinosaurs never ends. At first, that might not sound like a huge difference. After all, the dinosaurs simply survive, right? Not exactly. Because if the dinosaurs never disappeared, something else never gets its chance. Tiny mammals, the small, furry creatures hiding beneath fallen logs, living underground, and only coming out when the giant reptiles weren't watching. Those tiny mammals were our ancestors. And without the asteroid, their story might have ended before it ever truly began. Which leads to an even bigger question. If dinosaurs had continued ruling Earth, would humans ever have existed at all? The answer is far more surprising than most people realize. Let's shrink ourselves for a moment, not to the size of a human, but to the size of a mouse, because that's exactly what most mammals looked like 66 million years ago. They weren't kings of the planet. They weren't powerful. They weren't intelligent. Most were tiny, covered in fur, living underground, hiding inside tree trunks, waiting patiently for the giants above them to leave. During the day, the Earth belonged to dinosaurs. Everywhere you looked, something bigger, faster, or stronger was already there. Imagine trying to survive in a world where a single footprint is larger than your entire body, where every shadow could belong to a predator weighing several tons, where even finding food meant risking your life. That's the world early mammals lived in. They survived, not because they were stronger, but because they stayed out of the way. For millions of years, their strategy worked. Stay small, stay hidden, stay alive. Then everything changed. Not because mammals suddenly became smarter, not because they evolved overnight, but because the dinosaurs disappeared. Think of Earth like a giant apartment building. Every room was already occupied. Dinosaurs controlled the forests, the plains, the rivers, the mountains, the skies. Even the oceans had giant reptiles ruling them. There was almost no empty space left for mammals to expand. Evolution isn't just about becoming better, it's also about having an opportunity. And when the asteroid struck, millions of ecological spaces suddenly became empty. The world's largest predators were gone. The giant plant eaters vanished. Entire food chains collapsed. For the first time in over 160 million years, Earth had room for something new. Mammals didn't conquer the planet, they inherited it. Imagine arriving at a city where every building is suddenly empty. Every house, every store, every road. Nothing is stopping you from choosing where to live. That's exactly what happened after the extinction. The survivors weren't necessarily the strongest. They were simply the ones left behind. And from those tiny mammals, something extraordinary began. Some adapted to life in trees. Others returned to the oceans. Some learned to fly. Others became massive herbivores. Predators appeared. Pack hunters evolved. Eventually, one small group of tree-dwelling mammals developed something unusual: better vision, flexible hands, larger brains. They became primates. Millions of years later, one branch of those primates began walking on two legs. Their hands became free. They started making tools. They discovered fire, built language, created civilizations. Eventually, they looked up at the night sky and wondered where they came from. Us. But now, let's erase the asteroid again. The dinosaurs never disappear. The forests remain filled with giant reptiles. The plains are still ruled by enormous herbivores. Predators continue sitting comfortably at the top of the food chain. So where do the mammals go? The answer: nowhere. They stay exactly where they've always been. Small, hidden, living in the shadows. Their opportunity never arrives. Without opportunity, evolution follows a completely different path. And suddenly, the question becomes even more fascinating. If mammals never became the dominant animals, could something else have evolved intelligence instead? Scientists often describe evolution as a giant experiment. There is no master plan, no final goal, no species that evolution is trying to create. Life simply responds to whatever challenges it faces. If an environment changes, animals change with it. If the environment stays the same, the dominant species usually stay dominant. That's exactly what makes this question so fascinating. If dinosaurs never disappeared, would they simply keep ruling forever? Or could one of them eventually become intelligent enough to build a civilization? Believe it or not, some scientists have actually thought about this. One dinosaur in particular has captured their attention for decades. It wasn't the biggest, it wasn't the strongest, and it certainly wasn't the most famous. It was a dinosaur called Troodon. Troodon was about the size of a human. It walked on two legs. Its front limbs were surprisingly flexible. It had large, forward-facing eyes, excellent depth perception, and perhaps most importantly, it had one of the largest brains relative to its body size of any known dinosaur. Now, don't imagine a dinosaur building skyscrapers or driving cars. That's pure science fiction. But intelligence doesn't appear overnight. Human intelligence didn't suddenly arrive one day. It evolved slowly, over millions of years. Every generation became just a little better at solving problems, finding food, communicating, working together. If dinosaurs had continued evolving for another 66 million years, could something similar have happened? No one knows, but the possibility is fascinating. Imagine standing in a prehistoric forest. You hear leaves moving. You expect to see a hungry predator. Instead, a group of highly intelligent dinosaurs quietly watches you from the trees. They communicate with one another. They plan. They cooperate, not because they became human, but because evolution rewarded intelligence, just as it rewarded ours. Would they have discovered fire? Maybe. Would they have created tools? Possibly. Would they have built cities? Now we're entering pure speculation, because intelligence alone isn't enough. Humans didn't become successful simply because we had large brains. Our hands could grasp objects with incredible precision. Our thumbs allowed us to build tools. Our voices evolved into complex language. Our ancestors learned to control fire. Then farming. Then writing. Then science. Civilization wasn't created by one single invention. It was built step by step, across hundreds of thousands of years. Even if an intelligent dinosaur evolved, its body would shape an entirely different civilization. Imagine trying to build a wheel. Without hands like ours, imagine creating delicate tools with giant claws. Imagine writing. Without fingers capable of holding a pen, perhaps their technology would look nothing like ours. Maybe they would never build computers. Maybe they would communicate through sounds we couldn't even understand. Or perhaps they would develop solutions completely beyond our imagination. That's the beautiful thing about evolution. It never repeats itself exactly the same way twice. But while we're imagining intelligent dinosaurs, there's an even bigger problem hiding in the background. One that would affect every single mammal on Earth, including our own ancestors. Because if dinosaurs continued dominating the planet, Where exactly? Would mammals fit into this new world? So, what if the asteroid had missed? The truth is, we would probably never know, because there might not have been anyone here to ask the question. No humans, no cities, no airplanes, no internet, no books, no history, no one looking up at the stars wondering where they came from. The age of dinosaurs might have continued for millions of years. Or perhaps, evolution would have written a completely different story. Maybe another intelligent species would have appeared. Maybe not. That's the fascinating thing about evolution. It doesn't follow a script. Tiny changes can completely rewrite the future. One asteroid, one moment, one event, lasting only a few minutes, changed the next 66 million years. Without it, the planet you know today would be almost unrecognizable. Every forest, every animal, every city, every person, including you. Sometimes, the biggest moments in history happen in the blink of an eye, and everything that comes after is shaped by that single moment. If you enjoy exploring the hidden stories behind evolution, ancient life, science, and the history of our planet, subscribe to Born Human. Every week, we uncover the incredible events that shape the world and explain why they still matter today. Because sometimes, the best way to understand ourselves is to understand the world that came before us. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.